Good. How you doing?
Good, man. Cool background.
Thank you. We got a fighter and I got a surfer down here. It's kind of like the yin and yang.
I like it, man. It's all
It's kind of weird though. I did it. I sat down today to kind of get ready, and I noticed there was a big foot behind me. I'm always positioned differently. I'm like, where? How do I get the foot away from me? But
you got a foot and then you got a fist coming at you too.
right, always be prepared.
Exactly.
Are you
Exactly.
down? Are you down in Florida right now or Palm Beach?
I was in Palm Beach yesterday, and uh, and now I'm back in Parkland where I live.
Okay, just a little R&R down there, or
We just celebrated my wife and I our 12-year anniversary.
oh, nice, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so we got married on the 7th, and so we hung out in Palm Beach yesterday at the Four Seasons. So we just hung out for the day, and then came back yesterday. Um, yeah, so it's been having a fun week. We went to the fight. I posted about that the other day. That was cool,
Yeah.
and then uh, you know, highly entertaining.
Well, let's jump into it. What were your thoughts on that fight?
Oh, I mean, obviously, I thought Floyd was just using about 40% of his skill.
Yeah.
And there's one clip that came out. I don't know if you saw it, but it looks like he hit him with an uppercut, and then like I think he went out momentarily.
And he was holding
Uh,
him up.
he was holding him up, like kind of,
Yeah.
he was like leaning on him. I mean, Paul was just like clinching him the entire fight.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see if he did kind of like knock him out for a split second and then just kind of carried him.
Yeah.
Because I think he kind of did that with Mayweather or with McGregor too. He kind of carried him through the fight, and then once he gassed, like he just took him out.
Yeah. So somebody like I agree. I think they went into that having an agreement. We're gonna make it 8 rounds. We're both gonna get paid. Well, I think Mayweather now has realized, being retired, he can. It's just entertainment. And I think I posted somewhere on my Instagram too, saying once I got past, it wasn't a boxing match. It was
Right.
entertainment. I could sit
Right.
back and enjoy it a little bit more. But if I sit there like, oh man, it drives me nuts because the guy in the first round, Logan kind of went nuts and did a flurry, and everybody was going nuts, but none of those punches landed, and they were
Yeah.
just thrown like a girl fight. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Yeah.
true skill because when he thought he was winning, and if you think you got somebody up against the ropes, put some combos together that you're really gonna work. He just went flailing in there and was like, oh, and he gassed out, and
Then he gassed out. He was,
yeah,
dude. The guy was like drenched in sweat by the basically the middle of the second round,
yeah,
and I don't think Floyd's heart rate went over,
yeah,
in the aerobic area. So he's a legend, dude, and he's 44 years old. Like for him to go out there and just kind of, oh, like this is a walk in the park type thing, and you can see
yeah,
Logan was just like, I mean, understandably, like that was like his biggest moment of his life, and I mean, props to him. I'm not like
yeah,
hating on the guy for being able to get in there in the first place is an accomplishment.
yeah,
And I'm sure he definitely in his mind had to beat or took the champ the distance.
yeah,
But I would like to seen him at least just. I mean, he ate some big shots,
yeah.
but Floyd doesn't knock people out, so it's like But I like to your point, if he fights someone his size, he's gonna get murdered.
Yeah, especially guys who've been doing this for like, I mean, there's guys out there who are journeymen who've been doing this their whole life. And I've been, I thought I was a pretty good boxer, and I went to a boxing gym because I was doing MMA, and they tore me apart. I mean, and I fought guys like Mayweather's size, and they just pieced me apart because that's all they've been focusing on for their whole life since they were kids was boxing technique, style.
Yeah,
And so I went in there thinking, oh, I have some boxing skills. They just ate me up, much like Logan versus Mayweather. I went in there thinking I had a chance, and it wasn't, sanctioned stuff. It was just training, but I was blown away, and I got more addicted to it because I was like, man, it's not just going in there and throwing. It's like technique, it's moving,
oh
it's
yeah,
style. I mean, it was really good. So, um,
sweet sense.
did you happen to be there when Chad Ochocinco fought? You
Yeah,
were
I
there?
did.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was great. he did well. I mean, for never fighting, but like, yeah, he was running around too. Like you saw, like would you say Jimmy Walker?
Yeah, dynamite. Yeah, yeah. And then afterwards, he kept saying, "This is fucking hard. This is hard." And
Yeah.
that's what I tell people. Like, if you want to get in shape, do 3 minute rounds. Not even against people, but just hit a bag for 3 rounds, 3 minutes.
Oh man.
Do like 5 rounds, and you're gassed. I mean, it's
Oh
and
yeah.
then when you have somebody trying to take your head off, I mean, your adrenaline, everything. And after that, I think they went what was it, 5 or 6 rounds or something like that.
No,
Uh,
4 rounds. Four
yeah,
rounds.
he just kept saying how tired he was and how real that sport. I mean, it's legit, and I love it. But yeah, there was two fights in the Badu Jack.
Marty Jack. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
He smoked that dude.
yeah.
That guy was a fill-in though. Like, right?
What?
He was a replacement. The original
Yeah.
guy like tested positive for steroids, so
Oh, really?
that dude came in at the last minute, and he had a couple big body shots that just sent him
Yeah.
out.
And then he kind of
But
was
I'm
like,
interested to
he
see.
wanted on. What's that?
I think but that dude, what's his name? Can't think of it right now. That's fighting Jake Paul.
Oh, Tyrone Woodley.
Tyrone Woodley. Yeah, I mean, I don't think those guys are going to be taking it easy. I think
Oh
Tyrone
no.
Woodley is going to go try to take Jake Paul's head off.
Yeah.
But I saw Jake Paul's like a favorite in the fight.
Which is insane. I think they're just going in. I don't know how the betting works, but I mean, Tyrone Woodley hasn't won a fight in 4 fights. He's 40, I think. Not
Yeah,
known for being a striker. I think maybe Vegas is just getting into this Paul, whatever their names are, the Paul Logan Pauls and Jake Paul. I think they're getting on the hype train, and
yeah,
they're realizing, which makes me curious to think the outcome is already predetermined. They Floyd and Logan had an agreement or whatever and said, hey, we're gonna take like you said, like he got knocked out, but Floyd was keeping him up, like, come on, dude, I didn't
yeah,
mean to
yeah,
hit that hard. Let's get
yeah.
paid. If I knock
I
you
know.
out. Yeah, I mean, did you watch the Ben Askren fight against Jake Paul?
Yeah,
Ugh, that was bad. You get a guy who just came off a hip replacement, was never known to be a striker. I mean,
no,
he looked like he just got off the couch. He's always known for his dad bod. And then Jake
yeah.
acts like he just knocked off Muhammad Ali's head, and
I
it's
know.
like, dude,
It's insane.
yeah,
He's gonna catch the wrong guy, and it could be, I don't know. Woodley. I mean, I remember Woodley was pretty ferocious. I used to do business with a guy, Josh Koscheck. He was a
yeah,
UFC guy for many years. Fought George St. Pierre, several times. Got beat up pretty bad, but dude, he folded Koscheck like a folding chair.
yeah,
And I was talking to Josh right like after that fight, and he's like, dude, that guy was like the fastest hands he's like I've ever fought against. But
yeah,
that was what 7 years ago.
yeah.
So things have changed obviously, but I don't think Tyrone's a punk either though.
No, I think Tyrone, if anybody can do it, I mean, the thing is, he's fighting guys like, if you want to be such a badass, go into MMA. You're pulling guys out of MMA. Pick a boxer. Pick a guy his
Yeah,
size who's
yeah,
a
yeah,
boxer. I mean,
yeah.
he's smart in his marketing, and I'm with you. I don't knock their hustle and their marketing. I mean, shit, we're talking about them on Wednesday. They're doing
Right.
something right. But as far as boxing goes, if he wants to be a badass and talk all his shit, fight a guy. What is he, like, 6'1", 6'2", whatever? Fight his weight class. A
Yeah,
boxer,
yeah.
not handpick these guys that are you know MMA
NATO
guys.
camps.
Yeah. So, but yeah, again, I don't knock the hustle, but I think Tyrone Woodley, his old boxing coach, Den Thompson or something, was on and said he's got hands, and you've never really seen him because when you're boxing in MMA, you still got to worry about the kicks. You got to do all this, so you
Yeah,
can't 100% focus on boxing. So he says he's a good boxer, and he's going to show that when he goes up against Jake. And I mean, I'm with everybody else. I hope Jake gets knocked out, but I will watch it. I will, I'll invest the time and the energy into it because
yeah.
it's a train wreck and it's entertaining, but it is what it is.
It was cool. I mean, I like that stuff, so I'll always be spending my money on it.
Yeah,
And I just figured, man, I'm like right 30 minutes away from the fight. I haven't seen a live sporting event in a while, so it
yeah,
was cool to be out there and mix it up with the crowd and hear that. It was, I mean, but you can't. I mean, I still prefer watching on TV. I'm pretty close to the ring, and I'm like this, like people are standing up. You got the ropes. Mayweather's not even taller than the ropes anyway,
yeah,
so it's kind of hard to see what's going on. So I it's better on TV for sure.
Yeah, you get the energy and the hype, and you feel it when you're there. But as far as
Yeah,
watching, I agree because I've been to some UFC
yeah,
shows where I
yeah,
spend most of my. I have good seats too, and it's like you're watching the up screen because you can see more.
yeah. I'm like, I'm watching the exactly. I'm watching the screen more than the live. I'm like, I could have done this at home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
you know.
you get to see all the stars and stuff that were hanging out there.
Yeah, on the screen, I didn't see any personally, but actually I was on. It seemed like the YouTube fanboys were in my section.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like young kids that are Instagram and YouTube famous. I guess I don't recognize any of them, but like other
Yeah,
people are coming up and taking selfies with them. So I'm like, I guess there's someone. And I
yeah.
ended up figuring out like I was sitting next to the guy that was on Logan Paul's podcast. He's like his co-host.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess whoever that is, So
Yeah, it's a whole new generation that I don't get either. I don't know, but like one of the UFC fighters was complaining that he's not getting paid. He wants to fight YouTubers, and Dan
yeah,
says, "Well, then you should have started YouTube about 13 years ago because you chose fighting and you're getting paid
yeah,
like a fighter. If you want to be a
yeah.
YouTuber, go start a YouTube page."
I mean, it's real, right? I mean, it's crazy that it's what it's all about. It's eyeballs.
Yeah,
So eyeballs is a real currency. So if you have a lot of attention and a lot of eyeballs, then you can pretty much write your own check. You
yeah,
know, um, and YouTube is. I mean, it's hard to do that type of content. Those guys probably film 12 or 13 hours to get a 13-minute
yeah,
video.
yeah,
So they're very good at what they do because there's a lot of YouTubers that don't get that many eyeballs, but to get the type of eyeballs that they get and produce the consistent content that's entertaining and captivating and keeps people coming back, I think that is very difficult.
yeah. No,
So
they're doing something right. Like I said, all of my MMA feeds that I follow are all talking about the Jake Paul fight or the Logan Paul fight. So they're doing it right. They got the people listening and watching, and whether you
yeah,
love them or hate them, they got people talking about them, and that ultimately is what they want. So they're doing
100%.
well. Yeah.
100%. Is the
All right.
background loud here?
No, you're good. You're good.
All right.
You got the
I
kids
just
running
moved
around.
in. Well, yeah, I just moved in here, and so it doesn't have like an office yet. I'm like up in this loft, so I'm
Yeah.
in the process of enclosing it. So it'll be, um, obviously an office instead of a loft.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kids are downstairs and they're doing their schoolwork, and so my little one will start like blurting out. I'm like, "Daddy's on a call." Like,
Yeah. That's what I told my son this morning. He's down
yeah.
there and he's watching on. Speaking of YouTube, yeah, I don't know if you've seen those two guys, or there's one or there's two, but they just start with these little weird tools and they start building these exotic homes out of dirt and clay.
Oh
Like
no way.
they're out in the Amazon and they time lapse it and they just start chiseling and they make the with pools with double. I mean, it's
Oh, I see the pool guy. Yeah.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
you get caught, and I'm just like, holy shit! Like those guys are
Yeah.
badass, and he's down there
Yeah.
watching it now.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's YouTube's a trick, man. You know, somebody posted the other or this morning. Like actually, a guy I had on my podcast before, Razor Rob. He posted Mayweather's next fight is who's that little kid with Disney? He's always unwrapping the gifts. Little
Oh
Asian
yeah, yeah,
kid.
yeah. My kid watches him.
Yeah,
Ryan.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny.
He posted that, and I'm like, hey, I'd even watch that because as dads of kids, we know those little kids, and
Yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah.
amazing.
Those kids are they're so annoying, but they make millions of dollars, like just doing nonsense.
The
It's
first one
wild.
that came on my radar is because my son was a little guy and he was watching it. Was a little of a woman with crazy nails just opening like little Lego things or something, and I was like, why is this so captivating? Because I was getting into it. That woman was making like $12 million a year just on doing this little stuff. Not even I don't even think she was talking, and she was just unwrapping Legos, putting them out, and then going to the next one. And I looked into it and I was like, how is this woman doing this? She had like 50 million followers or whatever. And she found a little niche. And that was, it's kind of like what Ryan did. Ryan gets all those toys and unwraps them and then he
Yeah,
plays them. But it's weird times we live in where that's the captivating thing to watch now.
yeah. It kind of. We can just go down a rabbit hole and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, it's all, look, why are we even? College is going to be like kind of a pointless, if it's not already.
Yeah.
Unless you like some specialized study, a degree. I don't know if my kids are going to go to college, to be honest.
Well, that's what I tell my kid. My son's only 8, but he's like, "I wanna go to school to do this and this and that." I'm like, "Well, why don't we start a business and you can run it and you can do this," and try to, instill that in him that, because to me, I grew up with traditional parents and go to school for 4 years,
Yeah,
get a job out of school, and then retire when you're
same thing.
whatever,
Yeah,
and it's like, well, you don't even have time to enjoy your retirement because by then you're probably not the healthiest individual. So I did that. I went to college. It took me a lot longer than 4 years to graduate, but when I did, I was in a cubicle and I freaking hated it. I just banged my.
yeah, yeah.
We'd go on vacation. And I'd come back. I'm like, fuck. Now I got to sit back in this cubicle. So I found a way out of that, but it was just, I think the traditional way of doing things now, especially if entrepreneurs are always talking about, is like the 9 to 5 is dying, and hopefully more people are getting out there, and especially with everybody on a computer, you can work anywhere. I think, yeah, I think definitely now the kids are seeing different ways to do things.
Oh, it's night and day. I mean, even from how old are you?
I'm 46.
You're 46. Okay, I'm 42. So, you know, I mean, certainly not in our lifetime have we ever seen anything even remotely close to this. And I think just in the last, I don't know, less than 10 years, it's been a completely different world,
Yeah,
So it's interesting.
yeah. Well, let's get into your investments. I mean, I met you through Instagram, but we hung out a couple times a couple weeks ago at a Lions Not, or what is it, Lions Den Live.
Lions Don't Cheat. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Lions Live. Yeah.
What did you think about that?
I mean, it was cool. I love going to those type of events. I've always, not always, but I've made it a point to, go into those types of meetings and masterminds and groups, because I always take away something that'll improve either, my 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 health, my business, my relationships, my mindset. There's a lot of different things that you could take away from those events, and just being a part of that. I think the entrepreneurial community is it's actually pretty small once you start getting into it, and a lot of the guys are connected. So I've seen Ed, I've seen Ryan Stewman, I've seen a few of the other guys. I mean, obviously Sean. I've seen those guys speak at other events,
Yeah,
so it seems like those guys kind of support each other, which is cool. And you meet certain people that I end up doing business with and have relationships with, and so I like those events very much. And I've been a part of some type of paid mastermind for the last 5 years, and so I've done like multiple masterminds and events for all those reasons. And I just think being an entrepreneur, it's important to have a community, have a group of individuals that you vibe with, and you can share your wins, your losses, your struggles, your asks, whatever it is, and it just brings great relationships and partnerships, and also confidence, right? To see, man, no disrespect, but that guy's not that special, so why can't I do it, right? So I think you borrow belief, right? You just see someone, you meet them, you talk to them, get some ideas, and you're like, man, if that guy could do it, I certainly can.
yeah, yeah. I agree because after that event, there was a lot of people in the apparel industry. So I've been bouncing things off of other people from that. And this is kind of like that was my first mastermind, meeting. I didn't know
Oh,
what to
okay.
expect, and this one I took my wife to because they were kind of promoting, bring your significant other, and she's like, "What am I getting into? Is this like a cult?" And I'm like, "It's not a cult, but I don't know what to expect." And so we went
Yeah,
there kind of open minded, and we walked away with it, really motivated, leveling up, and we're gonna push to do a lot of different things.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I think it was great. But like you said, it was good to be around like-minded people and individuals at all different levels of the game. But yeah, I mean, it was great, and especially meeting you and sitting down with you and my wife, and she always knows I'm doing something on the side, like trying to promote this or do this and this and that. But it was good to have her meet the people that are doing the same thing I'm doing, like the hustle every day, the entrepreneurship, and it was good to get everybody involved. And so yeah,
well, dude, I mean, just for anybody that's watching this, right? Like, why would you attend those events besides, you know, learning something, right? We're always learning. I think we've got to be lifelong learners, because the minute we stop growing is the day we start dying, and that's my opinion.
yeah,
But I mean, just in talking to your wife, I learned she's got a mortgage background. I started my, entrepreneurial career in wholesaling subprime mortgages.
Hmm.
So we immediately had, a connection in terms of, oh, your experience and my experience. And we started talking. I'm like, well, as a matter of fact, hey, I just bought this house in Florida. And because of the nature of my work, I'm all bank statements, right? I don't, my tax returns, uh, I have a lot of write-offs, and on paper it doesn't look like I could afford a $100,000 mortgage. And so I was just telling her like, hey, this is the deal that I got. And then next thing you know, like, we connected after the event. She introduced me to someone. Now I'm in the process of like refinancing my house, and I'm going to save like 24 G's a year just on just a refinance.
Yeah.
So there you go, right? It's just, I wouldn't know who to talk to because I'm just not in that world anymore. And I just happened to bring that up to her, and she's helped me. And
Yeah.
that's the way those things work. It's all about connections, right? So,
Yeah.
thank you for that
Yeah.
connection.
No, she's amazing. Like, she's the go-getter salesperson that I'm not. She's like the door-to-door salesperson who asks for the sales. Like, when I first became an entrepreneur, I had a marketing company and we walked a trade show and I had flyers and everything. And I'm more mellow, I'm more laid back. Like, here's my flyer. This is what my business is about. Call me if you want. She's like, this is what he does. This is what you need to do. Call him right now. I got so much business, not because of me, but because of her and her ball
Yeah,
busting ways, which,
I love it.
I admire her a lot. And especially in the industry she's in, she's one of the top in the industry. And, my dad, who's he's a very smart guy. And he first met her and, oh, a new girl in Josh's life. Let's bust her balls a little bit. And he asked her some mortgage questions and the same thing. He was like, holy shit, this girl knows what she's talking about.
Yeah,
So yeah, I admire
awesome.
her. She's a great person. She's awesome in her industry. So yeah, I'm glad you guys got it figured out, and hopefully we can work. Got some things in the works as well, so we can work.
100%. Yeah, yeah, we're excited for that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're into real estate investment, right?
Yeah,
Are
that's
you?
how I started. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So you were out here in California, right? You just recently moved out to Florida.
Born and raised in Fresno.
Yeah.
So I'm Central California, right? So right between LA and San Francisco in the Central Valley. So I mean, born and raised there. I still have my mom's still there, my grandmother, my aunt and uncles, and then high school, grew up, played sports, and then ended up going down to Long Beach State, and I played baseball there in college. Moved back to Fresno, and then kind of floundered around really in my 20s, like really kind of unfocused, screw up, like having fun, going out partying a lot, not even thinking about what I was going to do or how I would do it or even how to make money. I had no clue.
Yeah.
And kind of funny, I ended up meeting my wife and I think when I was 29, and then got married at 30, and that's when I started kind of getting focused and like, man, this is going to be a rough road. I went through some financial hardships and lost a house, lost my car, lost all the money, had terrible credit, lost my pride for you know most importantly. And I just like, man, I don't know how I'm going to be able to recover from this. And kind of just having that positive influence, like you mentioned about your wife, very similar. My wife's not a business lady, but she's very focused. She studied music at USC. She's a classical musician, awesome musician, pianist. And so, just to be in that environment, you got to be very focused and on top of your game. And so she kind of like, hey, dude, get focused here. If I'm gonna marry you and be with you, you need to, make sure you're holding up the end of the bargain. So I
Yeah.
ended up getting focused on that and got into real estate and learned about actually many different aspects of real estate. But then I ended up focusing on the investment side, and then started getting more heavily involved on like, how do you buy property with no money,
Hmm.
right? That's because I didn't come from money. I didn't have any money. So I had to learn how to become an investor without having cash.
Well, how did you do that? I don't know if we got enough time for that one, but
Well, no, I mean, basically, there's strategies, and a lot of people may have heard or haven't heard, but there's a strategy called wholesaling.
Hmm.
So, wholesaling real estate essentially means I get really good at finding motivated sellers off market that have life events and motivation to sell their property fast off the market for cash. So, divorce, health, financial reasons, age, whatever the case may be, life events, right? So, look, we need to sell in 30 days. I'm not interested in putting it on the market. It's got issues and problems. I just want to sell it fast, cash, no commissions, no repairs, no nothing, as is, cash. So then we make offers that way. I get the property under contract. And then the second piece of that is for me to go identify cash buyers that invest in real estate professionally. So then I marry those two together and I make a fee doing that. So I could contract a property for $100,000, and I know that property is worth 200. Some people are like, why would someone sell a property at 50% of the value? It happens every single day. I've made a career of doing it. So I find that property that's worth 200. I get the seller to agree to sell it to me for 100. Then I go over here to my cash buyer and say, hey man, this property is worth 200. I'll sell it to you for 125. They're
Hmm.
like, cool, that makes sense. There's $75,000 of equity. So seller gets the 100, investor buys it for 125. I make 25 grand on that deal, and I repeat that process many times a month.
So are these people that you know, like, or I mean, is there a trust that they have in you, or is this people that you just go out and say, hey, I can
No,
do this?
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know enough people to make a business out of that. So yeah, of course, like, I'm learning about how to market to these sellers. So there's very specific niches that I look for. People that own the property but don't live in it. They call that a absentee owner,
Hmm.
right? So another landlord, right? So one of my biggest sources of motivation for someone to sell me their property at 60-70% of today's value is they're a burned out, tired landlord. So they've got equity in the property. They're just tired of dealing with people and tenants, people that are in the rent, people that are messing up the house, or they've just gotten to a certain age that they're just ready to cash out.
Hmm.
And so some people are just want to take the easy route. I'm not interested in going through the realtor route, putting the sign up, have all these non-qualified people going through the house. I just want to sell it to a cash investor. Well, that's me. So
Yeah.
then I make an offer based on what I could pay, based on the market, the condition, the location. If they accept the offer, great. I get it under contract, and then I go and bring it to one of my cash buyer investors. That's how I started, right? Because when you don't have any money, I can't be the buyer. But as you start, doing a lot of deals, making a name for yourself, money, then I can actually close on properties now if
Yeah.
I want to.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So are you in a real estate investment group right now, where you guys make deals together?
No, I mean, now like I don't need education on how to do real estate anymore. I mean, I've been doing it now close to 15 years.
Yeah.
So doing real estate deals is easy for me. It's like kind of riding a bike. I don't have to think about it. I've got a system and a team, because I'm sitting in Florida today, but I've got multiple deals going on in California right now.
Hmm.
So we're buying houses. I'm buying houses essentially sight unseen. So I have the boots on the ground. I have a team. I have a marketing division. So we're consistently marketing for properties. We're getting inbound calls from sellers, and I have someone handling the acquisition process. And I'm just basically looking at the pipeline and numbers and like, hey, okay, cool, let's buy it, and off we go.
Yeah. Is it because of the market, how crazy real estate is? Is it really booming right now, or is it always? Have you always? I mean, has it changed your strategy at all?
No, I mean, yeah, obviously the market is always has what's the word I'm looking for? It always has something inclination of how the market's going or what prices are doing or how busy we are right now. But we've been in a seller's market for it seems like the last 7 years, and even more so today. What will be interesting is when it turns into a buyer's market. So that's at that point, that means a few things have happened: more inventory, interest rates have gone up, the economy slowed down, unemployment has risen. So these economic influences and factors obviously correlate with the condition of the housing market. So right now, interest rates are at an all-time low as they continue. They've been since really the Obama administration. There's been a continual lack of inventory for the last, I feel like last 5 to 7 years. There's just less inventory and more buyers. People, it's weird. I mean, no one can really explain it because we've got this pandemic, that's been happening, but more people have more money than they ever have.
Yeah.
But at the same, businesses are closing, unemployment is up, but there's more discretionary spending going on. People are, you go try to buy any luxury products, like you can't get them.
Yeah.
Trying to go try to buy a house, there's 50 offers. Go try to buy a brand new car, right? It's hard to find a car, and the prices of cars are crazy right now.
Yeah.
I just sold my Porsche because I was like, dude, I'm getting like great money for it. I barely drive it, so I sold it, and I'm going to put the money into an investment and just kind of let that investment pay for the next car that I want to buy. So
Yeah.
I was like, why not? Like 2 years ago, I couldn't even get that number.
Yeah.
So
We had some neighbors do that. They weren't even in the market. They weren't going to sell their house. They saw one go down the street for a little bit more than what they were asking. So they're like, I drove by and I'm like, "Wait, you're selling your house?" He goes, "I wasn't going to," because he was over watching a fight a couple months ago. And then the next day he had to sign up. And he goes, "Yeah, we just decided let's see what we can get." Sure enough, within 2 weeks they got what they wanted and they were gone. It was like,
it,
wow, like shit's crazy these days.
it is, dude, and I don't think anybody can really explain it, to be honest,
Yeah.
because it should have been in a declining market, and we should, especially with the amount of cash that's been printed in the last year and a half, it's astronomical. So we're definitely headed to a hyperinflation. If you look at many of the experts and economists are saying like we're headed towards a cliff, and it's going to
Yeah.
be an ugly fall. But I think we as humans tend to forget the past and repeat the same mistakes. So I was getting into the real estate business when everyone was getting out back in '07, '08.
Yeah.
And, that would happen to be, the worst housing crash in the history of the country. So I didn't know what that meant at the time. And I know at that period of time, a lot of the guys that I know became wealthy in that 3, 4, 5 year period of, from, 2010 to 2014. I mean, they were buying houses that were 50 cents, 40 cents on the dollar. Like pick as many as you want to buy type.
Yeah.
It wasn't hard to find. Um, I don't know if that'll happen again, but there's going to be another run where people, the rich are going to get richer. There's going to be another massive exchange of wealth, and so the people that are set up and have the knowledge, right? You don't even have to have the money, but just having the knowledge, you can make an incredible amount of money. So just the skill set that I've built to be able to find any house in the country that I could buy for half the price of today. That's a skill set not everybody has, right? But and no one can ever take that away from me. So that's why I encourage anybody. This is if you want to become a savage, right? That's your show. Become a savage at your own skill set. Because so many people are trained to go work for an employer. They're told what to do, and you're at the end of the day, you're just a number, right? So you're expendable. They can let you go, and all of a sudden, your income goes from whatever it is to zero. Could be overnight. That's because you didn't build a skill set that no one can take away my skill set.
Mm-hmm.
I know that if shit hits the fan and I got to go out and make 10 grand tomorrow, I know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere. So and that's important because, anything can happen. You have to be prepared. Not a lot of people can understand how to do that. And so you got to figure out how to feed yourself. You got to figure out how to hunt and kill yourself and not rely on the hand of the man, the government, your boss, your employer, whoever, because like I said, you're expendable. So go learn a skill set.
Yeah. So what, besides real estate, what else do you invest in? I mean, because right now I got some stocks, I got Bitcoin. I'm starting to dabble in the real estate, as you know. Um, but what else? I mean, what do
Yeah,
you, what do you see are like the top five things to invest in right now?
yeah, it's interesting that you said top five because I just on my Instagram I've been doing some short videos on what I think the top five cash on cash returns are for 2021. Actually, so number five I actually had real estate as the fifth one. Number four I have getting into the art world or NFTs, so which are like non fungible tokens. I don't know if you follow that.
I
It's
do, yeah.
starting to get more traction. Gary Vee's really big on it. You know, there's this artist Beeble sold one for I don't know a massive amount of money. So you're seeing digital art start to become really valuable. So if you could buy some NFTs right now, you could pop off on a potential artist that just ends up being really popular or dies. Like somehow like artists become more valuable after their death. So you never know. So I had that number four. Number three, I had actually sports cards investing. I do a lot of sports card investing, which is kind of a passion piece for me because I collected cards as a kid, and now they've made a revival. So I mean, you've seen crazy stuff like Michael Jordan rookie cards selling for $750,000. Wayne Gretzky cards selling for $1 million. The where you get a lot of value is a rookie card. So I bought a Tom Brady rookie card before he went on the Super Bowl run this last time with Tampa Bay. So I ended up buying one of his cards for $9,000, and then right around the Super Bowl, it was trading for like 35,000, right, on a sports card. So I could have literally flipped that and probably made just as much as I would have on a real estate deal with none of the drama and headache, and I'm actually having fun doing it.
Now, is that
Um,
something you know a lot about, or is that just something you said, hey,
yeah, yeah, no, I mean, it's well, again, I think to be consistent and good at it, you have to have some knowledge of sports. So I'm a sports guy.
yeah,
I like to play fantasy sports. I follow, I read articles. I follow my teams, so I know what's going on with players. If you had no clue about sports, you probably don't want to get into that. But
yeah.
you might get into Pokemon because Pokemon is like
Did you
people are
see
making
Jake or Logan Paul?
Pokemon, yeah, or that Charizard
Yeah,
PSA 10 or Beckett BGS 10. I'm not sure what it was.
like a
That's
million
a
bucks.
yeah, right. It's crazy. So he's a big Pokemon collector. Those Pokemon cards. I mean, just a box of them are going for big money.
Really?
Seven-figure money.
Well, maybe I should go through my son's Pokemon because he has a shitload of them, and I don't know what the heck they are doing.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if they're the very first version. Those are very valuable. So I had that. I have number two's e-commerce, which we've talked about. I think for the just strictly cash on cash return. So if your followers or video or people that are watching this, like, how do you calculate cash on cash, right? So this particular investment, it's 40 grand out of your pocket, right? So then how do you calculate my cash on cash return? Well, if I take $40,000 out of my bank and invest in something, at the end of the year, how much cash will I have returned back to me after expenses,
Hmm.
right? So what I tell people is like the reason I'm so high on e-commerce is because I think a bad store returns $12,000 a year net, right? So that's after expenses and everything, 12 grand. So if you divide 12,000 by 40,000, that's a 30% cash on cash return. That's an amazing return because what's your bank returning to you and your Josh? What are you getting in the
Shit.
bank? Exactly. It's very almost impossible to get 30% in real estate today for a few reasons. The prices are high. Rents are not commensurate to what people are paying. So to get 4 to 6% in real estate is what people are actually the market's trading at today.
Hmm.
So just put that in perspective. I could get 30% on an e-commerce biz where I do zero work versus going to buy a rental. Again, with 40,000, you can't do anything in real estate with.
Yeah.
So that's number two on my list. And then number one is crypto, but that's very volatile, right? So I invested in some crypto earlier in the year. Um, I invested in some particular coins, not the Bitcoin type. I'm more altcoins like an ADA, Cardano, Hex, and so I've seen some really great returns on those. Again, it's volatile, so what could be worth, you know, I could be up 50% today and down 35% tomorrow. You just never know.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of be in it for the long run if you want, or you could trade it and you can make some massive returns just potentially for today. That's why it's number one, because I believe there's money in the money. So when we're trading money, it could really pop off.
And all of those are relatively something that like a newbie can invest in, right? I mean,
Yeah,
like ecom for sure, crypto, NFT. I mean, it's just a little bit of homework on there. Like if somebody was coming out watching this and they're like, oh well, I don't know anything about NFTs or sports cards, they could do a little bit of research, or would it be better for them to reach out to somebody and kind of broker the higher business?
I think it's funny when people say I don't know anything. It's because we all start not knowing.
Yeah.
Like let me give you guys a secret. There's a thing called YouTube, right? So get on YouTube. I mean, I spent a solid 8 to 10 hours on YouTube just researching crypto
Yeah.
before I invested. So it's like you got to put the effort in and to make things work for your advantage. That's just a lazy attitude. Like I don't know anything. Well, who are you going to rely on? There's a plethora of information out there. You just have to take the time to do the due diligence and spend 8 to 10 hours. Doesn't have to be in one day. An
Yeah.
hour here, 2 hours here, an hour here. Next, you built up a wealth of information. And the next thing I did was I again going back to investing in yourself. I'm a part of a mastermind group. All these guys there's about 40 of us guys in there, all similar thinking, all trying to get to the next level. And so one guy says, "Hey, I'm investing in this crypto. And by the way, I learned about it from this guy, and he charges $4,000 a year because he's an expert and he'll coach you. He'll give you tips. He'll give you strategies." I'm like, for $4,000, I could get access to this guy that has over $200 million in crypto. And he's twice our age. Like, that makes sense. This guy knows what he's doing. So I invested $4,000. So I'm on his text chain. I get his advice. I can hit him up for a one-on-one like this anytime. And he's like, do this, don't do this, be careful here. And he's explained to me, like, here's this wallet, here's this, here's how you protect yourself, here's where I think it's going to go, sell now because it's about to dip. And this guy's like, he's a savage when it comes to crypto. So again, most people like, why would I pay someone $4,000? Why wouldn't you? My $4,000 investment has saved me from making potentially, 6-figure losses if I wasn't smart, and it's helped me earn over 6 figures in a short amount of time in crypto. So we're always learning. I'm a proponent in investing yourself. Always invest in yourself. Sports cards, right? Like, again, you can go to YouTube. I actually put a course together that I sell on how to invest in sports cards. So if any of your viewers want to get information on that, I'll send you a referral. You can make a few bucks and buy. I'm always about making sure people are all. I like to deal with people that are always winning, and leveling up.
Well, it took me for a while to join a mastermind group and get in it. And I think the best analogy that's been told to me is, if you want to lift weights or if you want to do something, get a trainer. When
100%.
we were all kids playing football, we didn't just go out there and say, I know how to throw a football. You had a coach. You have a coach for this or that. You have a nutrition coach. Everybody, and I have all those. And it's like, well, damn it, why didn't I have a business coach? Because my pride, because I was too arrogant to think that, I've already gone to school. I already know everything. So I think for me, once I got past that barrier, I'm open to everything. I want mastermind groups. I want that guy, your Bitcoin guy. I'll pay $4,000. Like you, I just want to be growing every day. If I didn't do something or make myself uncomfortable, that's one of my mottos every day. Do something that makes me uncomfortable. So I'm growing. So I'm getting better at doing stuff. But yeah.
So I mean, think about it. Like Tim Grover just came out with another book, Winning, right? So if you don't know who Tim Grover is, He was Michael Jordan's coach. He was Kobe's coach. He was Dwayne. Dude, if Michael Jordan, Tiger, I mean, I'm talking the sports field,
Yeah.
all of them have coaches. So in the business world, I'm not sure who Warren Buffett or any of these big time billionaires, certainly they didn't learn by themselves.
Yeah.
Everyone has a mentor, everyone has a coach. I don't care who you are. If you're at a different level in life, it's because A, you invested in yourself, B, you got around people that were doing what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
I purposely want to put myself in rooms where I'm the dumbest guy in the room, because the minute you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
My friend calls it, you're the king of the dipshits at that point.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's cool. Like, we're always trying to get to the next best version of ourselves, and so where I lack in life, and across any level or any facet, that's where I know I need help. So I'm going to go seek it with a
Yeah.
coach or mentor.
That's what I was doing when fighting. I realized I was getting pretty good in the guys I was going with, and I was just stagnant. I wasn't learning more. I was beating up the same guys, and you like you said, you gotta if you're the best in the room, you're in the wrong room. So then I went to
Yeah.
a different gym, and I got humbled again. I was like, okay, I'm a sponge again. Give it to me, and I'd get my shit kicked out of me, but I was learning.
Yeah.
So I just finally realized that with the business, I need to do the same thing. Don't be shy to hire a business coach. Don't be shy to reach out to people. Doing the DMs and all this, I think that's how we got in touch. I just I liked your message. I DM'd you. Hey, I'm interested in this, and that. And it's amazing what this little box can do, and how you can get in touch with people who
Or,
normally 10 years ago you would have no access to.
yeah. And
So
that's a great point. I think too many people are caught up in consuming, right? They're just consuming stuff, and it's not really benefiting them. So either I try to treat that as like I'm either creating or I'm connecting.
yeah,
So don't get me wrong, I like to consume other people's content, but I'm not like endlessly scrolling and just getting wrapped up in a endless loop of just looking at people's stuff, right? Like
yeah,
again, either I'm creating something of value or I'm connecting. Like we connected, we have a friendship now going on, so just through Instagram, right? So I've made a lot of my connections through social media. The people that I went to high school with, I don't talk. I mean, maybe one or two.
yeah.
I don't know them. I don't talk to them. And I got some friends in college and stuff, but like I'm a much different person now than I was then. So I'm not even sure what I would have in common. Now, we got to search out our own new tribe and the people that are headed in the same direction, same mindset, same wants, needs, principles, morals, ethics, whatever you want to call it. And that's what's powerful about social is you can seek out that group and get in.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. What do you like when people ask about investing questions? Is there one thing you tell them to stay away from? Like, what's like the shiny object kind of syndrome? Like I think everybody's on the same track now with like crypto and stuff. But what's the one thing that you would say, don't even touch it? It's bullshit.
Um,
It's not worth it.
I don't have anything like that in particular. What I would say is like make sure you have a solid base of income coming in. So I
Hmm.
think where people like get in trouble is they're trying to invest in multiple things, thinking that that one thing is gonna make them wealthy, right? I didn't start investing in stuff that like are somewhat risky until I had my real estate business consistently producing seven figures a year. Like for 3-4 years in a row, I was dead focused on that one thing only.
Hmm.
And then once I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I could scale this, I could, remove myself from it and then start focusing on other things. I mean, fact of the matter, to be honest, I didn't really start investing in anything outside of real estate until 14 months ago.
Hmm.
So, and I've been doing real estate for 15 years. So 14 months ago, when I knew I needed to start working in another field or investing in another field is when I first made a big investment into it, and I invested into a company. I wanted to create a new company, so that's what I put a lot of money into, and then I started using profits from the real estate and from my second company to invest in the tertiary stuff that I call like crypto. Then I started buying e-commerce businesses. Then I started buying sports cards and kind of messing around in that. But it wasn't until I had a solid, income coming in from my base.
Mhm.
So I guess to answer your question, have a base so that money's coming in regardless. Then go out and invest in those things that you may or maybe interested in but not quite sure. What people get in trouble is they're investing in all these things. They've got no income coming in behind it to support it. So
Yeah.
if they lose here, it wipes them out. I could lose here and be okay because I know I've got this coming behind it. So that's what I would tell. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, for me personally, I don't invest in stocks because I don't take the time to research. It just doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
But crypto interests me, e-commerce interests me, sports cards. So I took the time to educate myself.
Yeah. Well, my wife and I took out of the mastermind last couple weeks ago. Danny Fleischman was there,
Yeah,
and he was saying, "Look at just put aside, much like you just said, have your base, have your foundation. The money's coming in, but put aside X amount that you're comfortable with, and just with my dogs, put in, let's say Apple or Google, which what I wasn't doing before that. I was trying to, and I'm not a day trader. I don't want to look at them all day long. I research a little bit, I buy the stock, and then I hold it. And when it goes up and down, I don't care because I'm holding it for the long term. But he said, put X amount into Apple and Google, companies that you trust that aren't going anywhere. And he says, in 10 years, look at, let's just say 500 in each a month. And then in 10 years, after you've been doing that consecutively, then you'll have a big nest egg. And I was like, yeah, yeah, I'm kind of all over the fence or all over the place with my stocks. But now since then, I've invested in four that I believe in, and they're big companies. And I'm just, putting a little bit in every time, every month. And that was a strategy. I just, I'm sure it's not a
I like
wrong.
it. No, I mean, that makes sense because that compounding uh, interest, right? The compounding effect of
Yeah,
$6,000 a year over the next, how many years you do it, and that stock goes up. Yeah, it makes sense, right? You're just building out a savings that is going to produce a way better return than it would in your savings account,
yeah,
and so yeah, no, that's not a bad philosophy at all. I
yeah,
like it.
yeah. Those speakers are really good. I mean, Mark was there. Ryan was Stewman. Is that his name or Stoneman? Stewman?
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
pretty funny. I like when he because for those who don't know, we were in like a church, but it's also sold out for events. And when he got up and he's like, I'm in a church. I guess you can call me Ryan motherfucking Pastor Stewman or whatever." And I was like cracking up. That guy's pretty funny. So
yeah.
so if somebody was looking for a good mastermind group, what are some of the criteria that they need to look into that would be a good one for them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it just kind of maybe the person who runs it or is the main face of it, kind of is in line with your core values, right? So I mean, if you know you got to have probably the same wants and needs and preferences and faith. I don't know. I mean, you got to be in line with that individual, right? And of course, they have to have a proven track record. If you're going to pay someone for advice and where you want to go, make sure they've been there, done that, and they're a few miles down the road because that's the goal, right? You want to level up when you get into these groups, and that's the first thing I think is having that kind of alignment. And then, of course, where the magic happens is where you're meeting people inside of that group. So, I mean, you could see like with Sean, right? He has a very specific avatar. Like those people in the Lions Den, like a lot of them look similar, right? I mean, it's hats, beards, guns, America, God country, apple pie, right? I mean, that's what I feel is who the collective of that group is, and a lot
Yeah,
of them also, like when everyone raised their hand about like, man, like have you been divorced? Like that was shocking to me. I didn't know that it's so prevalent, right? But it's real. So I think there's like a group in there that like needs some healing in that sense with their relationships and like seeing that okay, it's not a death sentence. You can meet someone else and still have a coexistence with your ex and the children. And that's a whole dynamic I don't even think about, but it's a real thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think just whatever that particular leader's message is that he's communicating, if it vibes with you, then it might be worth looking into. But if you're looking for a guy that is going to teach you about stocks or Bitcoin or real estate, or I'm not sure Sean is the guy, right?
Yeah.
But if you want mindset and emotional intelligence and being savage and gritty and hard, and that's probably your flavor.
Yeah.
So just you got to figure out what you want. I guess the moral of the story is like figure out what you want, then go find that particular leader, mastermind group, whatever.
Yeah. That's what I tell people when they ask me about personal training. It's like, well, pick the person that you want to look like. Don't if somebody is maybe 200 pounds and not the healthiest, but they got their personal training license or whatever certificate. Well, they don't even, they're not even taking their own advice. So I would
Yeah,
go for the person that you would want to look at because they're disciplined enough, they're doing something right, and that's who I kind of steer people towards. But yeah,
makes
the same
sense.
the same aspect is somebody who's already achieved what you want to achieve, and like you
Yeah,
said, the same principles, the same core values. I think that's great
yeah,
advice.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today. Quick little thing right now. You watching the UFC this Saturday? There's a big fight coming up.
I wasn't even aware there was a who's fighting.
Oh yeah, Israel Onionsada, the old kickboxer,
Okay.
and Martin Vittori. This is their second fight. The first one went to split decision, but that's a good one. There's also two Mexican guys that are really good. I can't remember their names. There's three really good cards or really good fights on that card. So I've been watching the YouTube embedded stuff on it, and then the guy actually, I didn't even know this. I went and trained and sparred Monday, and I'm watching the YouTube of the fights coming up, and that guy Vittori, he's an Italian guy, he walked into that gym I just left out of. I mean, it's pre-recorded, but so I hit my trainer up. I'm like, hey, that Vittori guy works out there, and he goes, oh yeah, he's here all the time.
Oh,
I'm
no
like,
way.
so I might be going for that guy. I don't know if he's going to win. Israel Adesanya is a freaking badass dude. I mean, his kickboxing skills are bar none. But
Is
yeah,
this pay per view or
yeah,
is
it's
it
paper. I think it's UFC 263 now. So yeah, it's a pay per view event.
nice?
But
I'll have to check it out. I'm always down to watch fights. I love boxing. We're talking about that MMA. You
yeah,
know, sports in general. I love watching, so I'll have to check it out.
have you ever rolled? Have you ever trained at all?
No, dude, no. I was a baseball player, and then never got into MMA. Or I mean, I agree, it's a great workout. I definitely actually I was just telling my wife, I was like, man, I need to get into like a cardio class to do maybe kickboxing or boxing,
Yeah,
because it get that heart rate going and you can get in good shape.
yeah. Well, boxing is the way to do it. I mix it up. I run, and then on the days off to give my knees a break, I box, and then I go to my gym and do all that. So
Do
yeah,
you
it's great.
lift?
Yeah, I do lift. I just got shoulder surgery about a year and a half ago, so I lost all my muscles. So I tried to get it back, and then now I'm into lifting. There's a guy in the Lions Den, Dustin Johnson. I
Okay.
do a lot of his workouts and stuff just to mix it up because I've been training some way or form for 20 plus years.
Plus, you surf. What? How many times a week?
Whenever it's good.
Yeah.
Me and my son's 8 and he's really into surfing now. So I go to a spot where he likes to go. Yeah, and I paddle out with him. And but one of my favorite spots out here in San Clemente, a shark just chased a bunch of people out of the water. So
Are
yeah,
you close to the wedge, right?
no, we used to live in Huntington, and that's Newport Beach is the wedge. We're down at San Clemente now, so Dana Point Harbor.
Oh, Dana
But
Point. Yeah.
we're by Trussell's, which is where that shark was at. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so they're a big mom. The sharks are there because they buried a whale years ago. So the mom shark came looking at that whale, had her kids all there. So now these baby sharks all come. They go grown up. They go out to sea. They come back, drop all their kids. So there's always going to be sharks there.
Gnarly.
You kind of know they're there, but you never really see them. And the other day, everybody saw them. Huge fan, all this stuff. So
Dude, Mark, we were talking about you the other day because we're like, man, remember when you told us the story about you were supposed to go out that morning, but something happened, or you had something in your head that, I'm not going to go out, and then someone you knew went out and got eaten, like eaten and like bit in half. You said,
Oh no, no. Well, the girl, yeah, she got the heebie-jeebie vibe, but she went out and surfed with her boy. Well, she was swimming with her boyfriend, and he was on a surfboard, and they just got a creeped out vibe. It wasn't me, but they got a creeped out vibe. He started taking a wave, and boop, she got eaten. She lived, but barely. And I read the story. They wanted to keep it hush hush because it was on a military base, and
oh,
she was choking on her own chunks of body and her own blood. I mean,
oh,
it was because that shark was going after a seal, and just saw her, and so it just. I mean, when they bite you, they usually bite from your thigh to your rib cage. Oh, the other one, yeah, I did tell you another story. He did die. I was out at Honolulu Bay. I got
yeah, yeah,
stories. Yeah, the
yeah,
Honolulu Bay one. That guy, man, I know exactly where he's palling out. And the same thing, he got bitten from his thigh to his chest. And they had a women's surf contest there, and they had first responders on him, but when you're missing half your body, I mean, there's not much you can do for it, and he died. Yeah, it's
oh my god,
it's one of those things like like you like fast cars, it's just it's part of the
yeah,
I guess excitement, but yeah,
that's gnarly, dude.
you got to keep living, right?
I don't know. That's the goal, but like I can't think of. That's got to be top five. One of the worst ways to die. I mean, there's a split second where you're like, "Oh shit, I'm about to get eaten by a shark," and then I don't know. I mean, it's got to be extremely painful, or you just go into shock and you don't feel anything. I don't ever want to find out,
Yeah,
but I just still, I think that cannot be pleasant, no matter
no.
what.
Well, in Florida, you guys have the worst ones. Those bull sharks.
Mm.
They just scour the bottom, and if they bump into something, they bite it. Like they're
Oh,
just scavengers out there. I'd be more afraid of Florida and North Carolina than
yeah.
California. But yeah, we'll get
Well,
you out after that wonderful stories. We'll get you out in the water soon.
right.
Well, man, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank
You
you for
dropped some
your
real nuggets,
time.
and I loved it. And if anybody wanted to reach out to you, you can tell them here, and then I'll also drop it in the comments and do all that stuff. But how can people
Yeah,
find you?
yeah. Best way is on Instagram at Phenom Investor 2.0, and I lost my accounts. I got hacked about 2 months ago, so I had to recreate the brand, or not the brand, but recreate the pages. So
Yeah.
the handle unfortunately was taken. So I talk about being a phenom, like that's my thing. Coming from baseball, if you were a phenom, like you had like a bunch of tools, right? Hitting, throwing, running, speed, whatever. And so you know, coming into life and business, like that's what it is. Like let's be phenomenal in all aspects of our lives. So I shorten it Phenom, so you can find me there, Phenom Investor 2.0.
Okay. Well, Phenom 2.0 sounds kind of cool with the 2.0 on it. So,
Yeah,
I mean, it
yeah,
kind of
that's
sucks you got hacked, but it's got a cool name to it.
it's got a cool name now.
Yeah.
Things
Well,
happen for you, not to you, right? That's what we learn.
there you go.
Yeah,
I wrote that in my notes when we heard that a couple weeks ago. That was awesome.
yeah, yeah, man,
Well,
for sure,
well, thank you for your time again. I appreciate it, and I'll reach out to you again because I want to talk to you about some more stuff. But I'll let you go for now. Thank you,
for
Matt. I
sure,
appreciate
brother.
it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
See you,
Thank you.
brother.
Bye bye.